you know. So at this time, also another thing that happens that is life changing is I become more active in church, and this time it's not my dad's church. I moved to a church called NPC Valley Road. Yeah. And once I joined NPC Valley Road, I find that there's Kumbaka Youth Church. You don't have to go to the main one throughout. Yeah. There's another one, it was called Fortress. Yeah. There's like a youth church over there. And then for the first time, guess what I realized? There's a bunch of young, hip, saved Christian kids that I never knew existed in Nairobi. You see? So finally, I'm like, my goodness, there is somewhere where I think I can hang out with guys and I'll not be asked a lot of questions by my folks. Where are you from? Yeah, I'll say I'm from church. Yeah. So I meet a bunch of very hip, you know, saved kids in church. And here is where a new thing begins to happen in my life. Kumbe, this music that we liked so much, akina Tevin Campbell, akina R. Kelly, kina Tony Braxton, kina LL Cool J,
Montel Jordan.
Gospel music that sounds like that from America. So, my goodness, I'm like, I never had any clue about this. So within the church, there are guys now who have gospel R&B and gospel hip hop,
gospel gangsters,
and it's getting exchanged like after church service. You know, like there are guys who have tapes, gospel gangsters. There are guys who are listening to Dawkins and Dawkins, the Winans. There are guys listening to. By then, even Mary Mary was not even out, but those really
out of Eden
and all that. Yeah. So I get into the loop of all this. Yeah. And then I start borrowing tapes from guys in church, and I go home and I listen, and I'm like, my goodness, this music is just as dope as what we used to listen to, but now it's gospel, yeah? So I'm like, my goodness, there's actually funky gospel music, because before that, all we knew for gospel was hymns, was joy bringers, and that's what we thought all gospel music was. And by this time, it's a period of time when the church is still resistant to funky hip gospel music. So here we are, and a time has come when we realize that wow, there's actually a budding industry, but not in Kenya. This is a budding industry in the US that is generating high quality and extremely nice gospel music. And this now becomes the center of attention as to what I think can work, yeah? So by this time, groups start springing up within churches, just groups of young guys. And most of the time the groups, there's hardly any like solo artist per se. Yeah? It's like everybody was in some kind of group or another. I remember there's a group that was called Basic, that had Akina Abraham Gumba, Akina Emmanuel Mutsune. There was a group called TTBC that has got Atemi
no way.
Oyungu, yeah. There was a group called Touch that had guys from Apa. Touch was more or less almost like Sauti Sol of now, yeah. There was a group called The Boys that has got Abi, the Abi that we know of currently, the guy who does a lot of reggae and Afrofusion.
Abi, who worked with Tejusaya at the time.
Yes. And then there was a group that I was very interested in joining that was called Rap Community.
Let me show you how it be. Tell 'em. Hasta la vista, baby. If you think you're gonna get freaky with me. Yeah. Dundali, dundala, dundala, dundali. We was doing fine till the day you said to me, pick you up at 8 for a late in the day. But you was thinking last, not the food on the plate. You got the job. You wanna get a little freaky. She's a girls on the side and everything is alright, right. We don't stop. Oh, put your hands in the air.
We don't stop.
Living like you just don't care.
We don't stop.
Yeah, my G's over there.
We don't stop.
Oh, let me see your hands in the air.
We don't stop.
SOG and my C represent JC.
What's up, yo, what's up with the vibes in the hands and the representing again, we don't stop. When I'm coming and rap on the moment and never stop, I'm moving the voice, the word, I'm back in the boom. That's the way out the boom. Never stop, I'm like this, that's the word, cause I'm the best. Now I ain't kicking this place, cause I is missing hands. I never see what's up with bands like my homie C. And every day I start kick sprays, live my life true like a CG.
Wake up. Yeah, wake up. What's up? Today's a special day, like any other day. With Jesus in my life, I haven't gone astray. I got a lot to say, like don't forget to pray. When you wake up in the morning, say Jesus take my day. I say you got a choice, so let us all rejoice. But we is in the house, making a joyful noise. We, but wait now, who won't answer we? You, or her, or him, or them, or me. Adam Bomb is in the house, so what's it all about? Let me tell you a little story.
Yo.
So by this time, groups are starting to spring up because in between services, you know, like the time when they're collecting sadaka and whatnot, they'd call up guys to perform. Like those 3-4 minutes after announcements when it's time for sadaka before the sermon begins. Yeah, the groups would come up and guys they'd normally have a pianist or a guitarist, and the pianist would play something, and the group would either do an a cappella or just something.
Backing track, nothing.
Yeah. At this time, a cappella groups were many, because by this time the availability of instrumentals was hard. It wasn't easy to have an instrumental of your own. Yeah. So by this time, I'm not singing, I'm not producing anything, but I'm just hanging around these guys a lot. Yeah. Just to see what they're doing, to see
Who
where
are
they're
these
going.
guys? Give us example of like, now who's in, you're talking about rap community.
Yeah.
Who's in rap?
By this time, rap community hasn't quite formed.
Oh, it's not formed, it's just
It's just guys
hanging out
and talking about trying to form a group like rap community. Yeah. There was, like I said, there was TTBC, which was a group with Atemi. It was a very good group at that time. They were already gelled and they were already doing music. Yeah. There was Touch, which is a group of about 5 guys who most of them went to the States. It was almost like Sauti Sol at that time. There was Basic, which was a rap group, which I think, if I remember right, could possibly be the first rap group this country has had. It was 3 guys. I can't remember the third guy, but there's Abraham Gumba, there was Emmanuel Mutsune. These guys are still around, but obviously now they're not really doing it much. But I remember them being on stage and rapping, you know, with instrumentals that were probably backup or instrumental tracks from existing American artists. Yeah. Now at this time, something again happens. This is somewhere 93, 94. There something happens. A group from Uganda comes to Kenya. A group of 3 guys that came, and I would say confidently are the reason Kenya is what it is today musically.
Bwana asifiwe. Asifiwe. Bwana asifiwe. Asifiwe. Bwana asifiwe sana. Asifiwe sana. Asifiwe. Asifiwe.
It's Jehovah, the King of Kings. It's Jehovah, the mighty God. It's Jehovah, the King of Kings. It's Jehovah, the mighty God.
Here we go now. Take it away, take it away.
Praise the Lord, hallelujah.
There's a group that was called Limit X.
Yep.
Yeah. Limit X comes, and Limit X are now that Jodeci that I've been thinking about. Yeah. Because these guys are fresh from the States. They had a producer in the States who gave them that Jodeci sound on their own music. Yeah. They were not borrowing tracks. They were not singing cover songs of other artists. It was their own thing. They had their own music, their own harmonies, their own instrumentals. They were basically just, they were 20 years ahead of everybody.
Ruchi and the rest of Limitex.
And Isaac and all these guys.
Yeah.
So I remember they come to Nairobi Pentecostal, and then they had a Sunday afternoon show. And here we are, the church is jam-packed.
What year is this?
This is 1994. Wow. This is 94. The church is jam-packed. It's a Sunday, like after service, it's like 3 p.m., 4 p.m. The church is jam-packed. We're all the way somewhere to the back, and we're struggling to see what's going on. And they're just the coolest guys you could think of. Yeah. They're in colored shorts, they're dressed funky, they have nice sneakers, they're everything, and then again they're Christian. They're everything.
And they're African.
Yes. They're everything you'd want to be, they're everything you'd imagine a group should be, and then they're saved and they're Christian guys, yeah? And then they're also Africans, So they had African music, then they had that very dope rap music, then they had very dope R&B. So it was just something that was totally mind-boggling at that time, yeah. But they were superstars, they were rock stars, so they were here today, gone tomorrow.
Yeah.
There was no chance of meeting them. There's no chance of knowing them at that time. You're this kid who has not finished high school. You're just on dreams of how you'd like to be like these guys one day. You'd like to be in the States like them. You'd like to be able to record the music they're recording, but there's really no roadmap to get there, yeah? But one good thing also happens alongside the advent of this group called Limit X. Limit X, I would say, and I stand to be corrected, but I believe this is what happens. Limit X gives birth to a Kenyan version of Limit X. And the Kenyan version of Limit X was a group by the name of Heart.
And you're so right. I interviewed Peter Dera, and that's exactly what he said.
So Limit X more or less influences and paves way for an iconic group. I'm talking about, this is the Beatles of Kenya, yeah? This is ABBA of Kenya. This is the group that comes to open the way for everybody that is there today. Including myself. Including myself. I meet members of this group anytime, and I never fail to remind them that if it wasn't for you guys, I'd never be here. Yeah? So a group springs up by the name of Heart. By this time, they're called Heart Ministries, yeah? They were doing ministry by this time, yeah? So Heart Ministries springs up, and Heart Ministries comes up just as good as Limit X had come up, yeah? Heart Ministries by this time is a group of the late Sally Oyugi. May her soul rest in peace.
She just passed on this year.
She just passed on some months ago. Esther, and of course Pete Odera. And to me, the guy who my eyes were on like this, my godfather. and I'm happy to say he's really my godfather. He's really the guy who today I owe everything to, Ted Josiah. Yeah. So by this time, Heart Ministries comes up. They get a gig at Barclays Plaza in the basement on Sunday afternoons. So for us, we go to church. What's the plan after church? The Fun Restaurant. It was called the Fun Restaurant. Yeah. So Barclays Plaza was that cool place. They had a cool restaurant. It was a nice place even if you had to go for a date, whatnot, It was that joint. Yeah, it was like Java of now. It's like having shows at Java. So Sunday afternoon, church ends 2 o'clock. You hang around, do 1, 2, 3. Then at about 4 o'clock, there was the fun. And it was free because we didn't have any money. So it was free. There was nothing better than that. Yeah. So we'd go to the Fun Restaurant. And this is one thing that happened to me at the Fun Restaurant. The first time that I ever saw a music keyboard connected to a computer. Yeah. And playing music that is coordinated on a software on the computer. It was at the Fun Restaurant. Let me tell you, Heart Ministries were they were doing
that then.
Yeah, they were so ahead of the curve. These guys would set up like a mini studio on stage. Yeah. So Ted Josiah had an Atari computer. There's a Greatwell monitor. Those red, black and white Greatwell monitors. Yeah. Then they had a keyboard. I think it was a Yamaha DX7 or something of the sort. One of those older version keyboards. And they'd connect it, and they had all this tech, they had digital stuff to play their music, yeah? By this time, us guys were stuck on cassettes that we are recording over and over, and nothing is getting better. Yeah. So we go here and we meet a group of 4 Kenyans. Yeah, that I couldn't even believe were working from Nairobi. I remember my first question to Ted was, "Where are you guys producing this music?" He told me in South B. He told me South B. I'm like, how? You know. Because to me now, coming back to what we're talking about, the Jodeci effect, the Jodeci syndrome that I was suffering from, I'm finally getting closer to it now. Yeah, because now here's a group of hip guys with dope music that I can't even understand how it's being made. Yeah, so they had shows pretty much every Sunday and they were free.
And you were there.
And I was always there. Yeah, and I remember one day, because nobody was going to introduce me to Ted, I decided I'm going to introduce myself. Yeah. So remember one day the show is over, guys are leaving, they're packing, whatnot, they're putting their gear together. Ted is somewhere eating chips. You know that chips you've been given by the restaurant, the one for complimentary because you've done a show. So he's eating chips and having his burger and whatnot. And I pulled a chair and sat next to him with his mouth full of chips. I told him, Ted, my name is Steve Ominde.
I'm going to change the game, homie.
And whatever you guys are doing is amazing and I'm gonna do it one day.